Here are my predictions for education and technology over the next 5 years. First, I think the idea of incorporating Google Hangouts on a regular basis to connect with experts, other students, and people around the world will become a much more common practice. I think it's being used in pockets of classrooms right now, but I see this becoming a widely used activity. Students can also use Google Hangouts and will be using Google Hangouts to collaborate with their peers. This could be in the form of meeting for a book club, helping each other with their homework, or collaborating on a project or an assignment. Google Hangouts will also be used with guest speakers. I think there will be a lot more Hangouts held with experts in their fields. For example, I see it becoming common practice to call on scientists, authors, illustrators, historians, engineers, environmentalists, politicians, and many other people in their fields on a regular basis as it relates to the curriculum and the learning going on in the classroom. I think Google Hangouts will also be used for a lot more virtual field trips. I see there being a much bigger emphasis on seeing the learning. I see a lot of field trips to historical locations to put a visual to what is being taught and learned in class. For example, in California, I could see taking a virtual field trip to the Capitol, Gold Country, or Native American villages. I think there will also be field trips to places that don't exist today, as well as places that do, to see also how time has had an impact on the world and what used to exist in California and how it's changed over time as well. Finally, I see using Google Hangouts to connect with experts. For example, when kiddos are working on solving a problem, I think they'll be interacting with stakeholders in the problem as they're working toward finding possible solutions. Another way I see technology impacting education in the next 5 years is I think there's going to be a lot more push toward learning through solving actual problems of the community, the state, the country, or even the world. And when solving these problems, I see students collaborating with experts and peers beyond the physical classroom. So this one ties into the Google Hangouts a little bit. I think there's going to be greater emphasis on learning through solving real problems. For example, students could be given more actual problems of their world or community to learn. If the community has a problem like bike traffic or traffic in general, they could rely on students to come up with solutions to the problem. This would require students to work together and be creative in their solutions. This will also require students to learn about their city, its bike rules, bike safety, public transportation, and other factors in order to offer their city some possible solutions to the problem. Then the students will present their findings and solutions to the stakeholders. This type of learning will be more relevant to the students' learning and will foster their collaboration, communication, critical thinking, and creativity skills. I definitely see the printed textbook as becoming a thing of the past. And in 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised if most, or not all, textbooks were solely presented in a digital format. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if textbooks disappeared altogether, but I think that's a little farther out than just the next 5 years. Textbooks are bulky, and I think we're moving toward simplifying our materials and looking for devices that can do it all and house it all. It is much easier to carry a laptop, a tablet, or an e reader that houses 5 textbooks than to carry the 5 physical printed textbooks themselves. If we want students accessing their resources as they're learning, we need to make it difficult. Or not, we need to make it easier to carry home those textbooks. If you need to carry 5 different textbooks home, forget it. The kiddo's just going to leave them in the classroom. I also think there will be a greater push toward using current articles for readings for content areas like science and history instead of relying on a textbook that may have been written decades ago. Now, for history, I understand that we're learning about something that isn't happening right now, so it's obviously not going to be easy to find or even possible to find current articles on the content area. But I do think that solely relying on the history textbook is becoming a thing of the past. I think there's much more available out there, and it's just a matter of finding it. I definitely think we're moving toward a more hands-on and student creation approach to instruction. The format of the teacher standing in front of the class and giving all the information is on its way out, if not already out. I see a more inquiry-based learning across all content areas where students are discovering and creating their learning and not just regurgitating what a teacher has told them. I think the students will be creating their own learning and then teaching their peers or even a different grade level. For example, in my class this year, if I have a group of students or a student who understands a concept like a multiplication strategy, I have them make a video and then use that to teach either another group in my class or a younger grade level or maybe even an older grade levels math group that just is struggling with the same concept. Technology is very useful and constantly changing. So the video that's done on EduCreations or iMovie may change, but I see that student creation component being a huge component of how technology impacts education in the next 5 to 10 years. Finally, I think there's going to be a much greater emphasis on coding and programming. It's still in its newer phases. People are jumping on the coding and programming bandwagon, but I'm pretty confident that it hasn't completely taken off to the level that it will in the next 5 years. We know there's going to be computer science jobs, or at least we think there are going to be more computer science jobs or jobs that involve writing code or writing programs or creating. And it's important that the classroom reflect that. And I think there's going to be a big push toward students not just consuming the technology by playing the video game or playing the computer game or using the app, but a much larger push towards students actually becoming the creators of the content being presented. Technology is a wonderful thing that is constantly changing, and I'm excited to see what the next 5 years do end up looking like.